If your idea of a good night is screaming at a character to not open the obviously cursed airlock, Dead Reset is aiming squarely at you. It's an FMV full motion video thriller about dying, rewinding, and trying not to repeat your last boneheaded mistake. Wales Interactive teamed up with Dark Rift Horror and leaned into alien energy, tight corridors, a gooey creature, and a cast stuck in a lab that looks one leak away from being condemned. The hook is clean. The debate is whether it sticks after the first ending or collapses under B-movie themes. Here's the setup that matters for your time budget. You play as Cole Mason, a surgeon with a scrambled past who wakes up beneath the sea in a sketchy facility. There's a time loop device on the fritz, and every death snaps you back to a later checkpoint, not always the very beginning. That's a smart bit of mercy. You make frequent A-B choices that redirect the story across more than 300 scenes and 4 endings. There's even a streamer mode that pauses decisions so you can weigh your options without a countdown. If you've never touched an FMV, think interactive movie with branching paths. You're watching real actors, not rendered models. On the is it good spectrum, critics are split across the entire roulette table. One Nintendo-focused outlet stamped a 7/10 for engaging alien-inspired story, calling the death scenes grim but unexpectedly funny and praising the steady pace. The tech site sat at 6/10, applauding tense lighting, sound, and a few strong performances, while saying the creature design undercuts the horror, and the second and third playthroughs wobble. A PlayStation outlet went hard the other way at 3/10, calling it boring, poorly stitched between scenes, and weighed down by stiff direction and flat characters. That spread isn't noise. It tells you Dead Reset works best as a one-sitting popcorn creature feature, and it struggles if you demand a prestige thriller that reveals new layers on repeat runs. Let's talk execution, because FMV lives or dies on performances and production. The image quality is sharp, and the lighting often does more than the set dressing can. You'll get moody reds, cold blues, and enough shadow to sell tension even when the props look like they were bought in bulk from a very brave hardware store. Acting lands on a curve. Some players and reviewers vibe with the leads, others feel the deliveries can't outrun the writing. That writing is the other split. When a character uncorks a melodramatic line, if you're in midnight movie mode, you grin. If you're chasing elevated horror, your eyes will do cardio. The creature is the wild card. You don't see it clearly for long stretches, and when you do, it's more rubbery abomination than nightmare fuel. That's not a sin in itself. Plenty of classics cut around their monsters, but Dead Reset occasionally lingers just long enough to show the seams. For some, that's campy charm. For others, it punctures the atmosphere faster than a chest burster at lunchtime. Mechanically, the time loop is the reason to show up. It's not just a do-over, the loop has logic. Power surges shift your starting point forward, so you're not condemned to relive every beat. Relationships can carry consequences. Help a teammate or don't, and that choice can echo later. The game tracks endings, deaths, and scenes discovered, which is catnip for completionists. That said, multiple reviewers point out that a chunk of choices are scaffolding, dialogue that exists to ferry you to the next plot gate. On your first run, you won't notice. On your third, you'll start to see which junctions actually branch and which are scenic detours. Quick spoiler in 3, 2, 1. The inciting horror is a lab-grown organism that might as well have acid blood in its family tree. Cole is pushed into emergency surgery, discovers the thing, dies a lot, and learns to thread the maze of betrayals, panics, and power outages. Expect 4 macro endings that tilt along who lived, who learned, who got eaten, and spoilers. The loop sells the fantasy of doing it right this time, and when a nasty choice pays off, it clicks. Platform notes could save you grief. On Switch 1, performance is mostly fine with occasional brief freezes. On Switch 2, there are reports of more frequent, sometimes indefinite freezes, with the dev acknowledging they're stuck until they get proper kits. If you're portable curious, that's a big asterisk. On PlayStation and Xbox, the complaint isn't frame rate, it's the choppy feel between FMV clips when the engine loads the next branch. That's inherent to the format, but you feel it more when scenes cut mid-emotion and momentum hiccups. So who is this actually for? If you enjoy creature features, don't mind low-budget themes, and love the try a different door, see a different death loop, you'll get a solid evening out of Dead Reset and maybe a second run to chase a better ending or two. If you're hunting layered metaphor horror, you'll find some teases about memory, guilt, and control, but the text is more monster loose in a lab than trauma parable. And if you're allergic to inconsistent tone, serious setup plus hammy gore, this will whiplash you. There's also a subtle meta game that veteran horror nerds will devour. If you've spent years yelling at slasher fodder, you can roleplay the person who doesn't do the obvious dumb thing. Take the safer hallway when the soundtrack screams at you to be a hero. Secure that door, don't split up. It's weirdly satisfying to treat the script like how it should have ended machine and watch the story flex around competence. Not every choice rewards you. This is still horror, but that mental model makes the loop feel like a puzzle, not a punishment. Where does veteran game land? Call it a conditional recommendation. As a one-night interactive B-movie with a slick loop and some strong mood lighting, Dead Reset delivers. As a multi-ending rabbit hole you'll obsess over all weekend, it thins out. The creature doesn't carry the whole show, the dialogue occasionally undercuts good acting, and on certain platforms the tech gets in the way. But if you calibrate expectations to late-night schlock with a cool mechanic, you'll have fun seeing how many ways Cole can avoid, or absolutely fail to avoid, becoming ship chow. If this kind of no BS deep dive scratches your brain, hitch a ride with Veteran Game and hit subscribe. If you're nodding or fuming, drop a like, so this take survives the algorithm and we keep shining a flashlight into weird corners of gaming. Here's the spicy closer for the comments. Should Wales Interactive double down on campy creature thrills with bigger practical effects and cleaner branching? Or pivot toward a tighter, less splattery mystery that leans on the loop to build dread instead of guts?